Alright, now we're going. So just to recap what we're doing here, this is a English any % TAS of Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. If you don't know what a TAS is, it's using an emulator to go frame by frame and use save states so you can fix mistakes, etc. to create a run that, like, it's not super optimized, this one at least, but it's more like a RTA run that is near perfect. But it could definitely still be improved by a lot, because there's like certain things that I didn't even bother to do. And I'll talk about that when we get into it. For the first bit, we just have a lot of text mashing. If you're wondering how I'm mashing through text, I know there's certain spots where using a different method to mash is faster, but for the sake of just making it easier, I just mash A and B anytime I need text, so it's just mashing A and B frame perfectly, which is good enough. Well, the first thing you'll notice right off the bat is that I'm always jumping. That's because I'm using speed swaps, which is if you move up or down, it's actually faster than moving left or right. So what you can do is move up or down for a frame or more, and then move left or right and keep jumping frame perfectly, and that keeps the higher speed. So you use that like anytime you don't have Yoshi, which is basically the first 2 chapters and certain other parts like chapter 4. And when getting on Yoshi isn't worth it. This is pretty standard RTA fight. Super guard to deal damage and finish it a little earlier. I apologize for the quality. It's okay, but I notice it's a little blurry when things are moving quickly. I might re-record it, I'll see, but I think it looks okay. Our partner Goombella, more text mashing. Now, one optimization you could already do here is to manipulate RNG so that Zesty is really close to you. But I didn't bother to do anything, little things like that. The only RNG stuff I manipulated is certain fight things, but nothing crazy. So in an RTA run, you would buy 5 fright masks here, but because we can do a puny glitch in Chapter 2 that you normally don't do, I only need to buy 4. You can hit the save block there to stop that text, but it's faster to read it if you're not going to save throughout the run, which I'm obviously not going to do. Should mention too, the splits that I'm comparing against is the current world record by Soric, just to give an idea compared to the best RTA run that we have so far. Got the tutorial skip, that's good. Use a fright mask for this fight, nice and quick. And Goombas run 100% of the time, so you don't need to worry about it failing at all. And after this, we do a little tricky jump that you can't do it before the fight because there's an extra invisible wall for some reason. But you can do it after to save like 4 seconds, I think. Something like that. It's like a lot more precise than it looks. And more Goomba dodging. I found even in a task format, dodging these Goombas is not a simple task, because their running speed is almost the same as Mario's. We gotta get the plane curse. There's no way to skip that. I think the only plane panel you actually need to use is the one to get to Petal Meadows for Chapter 1. Pretty sure all the rest can be skipped in a task format. So if we could find a way to skip that one, we wouldn't need it. But so far we do. Oh, and the one in Chapter 8, I think. Yeah, you need to use that one. Alright, coming up we're going to do what's called blooper skip. is very trivial in a TAS setting. Just 2 frame perfect jumps, and you land on the boat panel and fall in the water. And that the game doesn't know where to put you, so it decides to throw you in the middle of the room. And that skips the TTYD cutscene and fighting blooper itself. And the first gold, many more to come. So we're going to use another HRG here. All of those are frame perfect jumps, and the game does the same thing as blooper skip, lands you in the middle of the room. And I believe you can make that one jump, but for whatever reason I couldn't get it to work. So I ended up falling in the water again and then jumping over. I'm not sure why you can't make it the first time. I think it like changes your position a little bit if you fall in the water again. But I'm sure there's some way you can make it so that you don't need to fall in twice. I just kind of gave up with it.
Oh yeah.
And so for the 2 fights coming up here, there is a way to skip them, but I decided not to because it changes how many star points you get, and I didn't really want to be bothered like to change the route. I wanted to stick just to the RTA route, at least for this time. So I decided just to do the fights. But you can skip these fights by Gabella buffering to left and walking around the room. What I can do is those frame perfect jumps after the fight. Saves like less than a second. Like some RNG manipulation I did do is the items to make them come out. Like when you hit an item block or a badge block, it's 50-50 if it goes left or right. So I did use RNG manipulation to get them to go the direction I want them to. And I believe I RNG manipulated this quiz so you get the best outcome. We'll see here. It's RNG whether he asks you if you want to rethink your answer. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So he didn't ask at all on the first or second question. And that was just me fooling around with the menuing there. There's some spots where I'm literally just like messing with the TAS to do funny things. Like it's accomplishing nothing. I was just fooling around. I didn't bother fixing it. He'll always ask you if you're sure about the question on the first or last question. But for the middle ones, it's RNG, yeah. These fights are done the exact same way as RTA. Fire flowers. If I ever like improve this task, the first thing I would want to do is actually look at the experience that you get and see, like, cause you could totally skip like leveling up one time. But since you skip blooper, I believe you want to get the experience because you want to level up on red bones. Otherwise, it's kind of messed up. You would have to heal before hooktail, which is not fun. So you want to get the star points from these guys. This is another fight that could be faster if I bothered to RNG manipulate more. If you get like a bucket drop and then make the background fall, you can skip like the last attack or something. But I didn't do any of that. I just did it the same way RCA does it. With these super guards for style. We got multi-bounce earlier. I don't think I mentioned that. It's a pretty important badge to use throughout the run on many different fights. I only pick up one badge for coins. Well, the sound effects badge in Hooktail Castle you get for the fight, and I sell it later for coins. And then I get one more badge in Chapter 2 for coins, and that's all I ended up needing. I actually don't get first try Mega Rush because I don't check it the first time because I don't have the money to buy it. So what I do is I go do Chapter 3 or like the first part of it or whatever, and then I get it when I'm going for the retrigger because then I have money from actually completing the fights in Chapter 3. Oh, the tax actually gets it second try, I guess, if you count it that way. I just don't check the first time. So we're not getting Koops here because we can do Koop skip, which is just saying no to him, and that skips getting Koops, I guess. But to actually get into Hooktail's Castle, you need to do very precise speed swaps. So the first thing I'll do is I'll jump on this switch and pause at the same time, which cuts your momentum so you can start going right quickly. And then you need to speed swap all the way over, and then you just have enough time to hit both switches to unlock the pipe. Normally you would fire out coops to hit those switches at the same time. And you may be thinking we're screwed because you need coops at certain points in this castle. But, thankfully, there's a cutscene that forces them out anyway, so it's all good. Oh, and I split that a little late, or whatever. You can actually do a speed swap there, but it's incredibly difficult, so no one does that RTA. You would just use the plane panel. But it's a bit faster. And that jump in front of the block was to get power bounce to go right instead of left. Waste a bit of frames, but don't have to backtrack. And that's the cutscene that forces coops out. So now I can't swap partners at all because I need coops for certain things. So he'll stay out until we get Flurry. And this is Redbone skip, so you notice I just did a jump after interacting with him. And then you can jump again right there, and that triggers the fight. I'm not really sure why that happens, but it saves time, so whatever. So we level up here, we're going to level up FP, just like RTA. Level ups, I believe, are exactly the same as RTA. Yeah, level FP and then BP and HP at the very end. The reason we level up FP is because we want 3 power bounces for Hooktail. Otherwise the fight would take much, much longer. You can skip this room by going up the purple block and using Goombella to Goombella buffer and get around the seam. But doing that means swapping out to Goombella, and then we wouldn't have coops anymore, so you can't really do that. That's another little time saver here. You can hit it like that and you have just enough time to actually make it in there, instead of like holding coops out and then walking around. Yeah, I can't swap to Goombella at all. You can swap if you really wanted to, but then you'll lose coops because he's not in your partner menu. So if I swapped to Goombella right now, then I would lose coops and I couldn't get him back until you beat Chapter 4. But you need him for certain things, so I can't do that. The next curse, Paper Mode. Pretty cool power up, I guess. Really one of my favorite TAS things, though, right here. It's called like Paper Mode jumps, I guess. I love them. Even though, like, certain spots it's probably not even faster to do them, but they're so cool that I do them like any chance I get, pretty much. I don't believe you actually need Koops to hit that switch. I think you can do the same thing I did for Coop Skip to actually make that. But I just didn't do it. I just didn't really think about it. I did do it on the next one, I believe, though. Little cutscene walk here to save like a second, maybe. Probably less than that. And then the infamous window jump, which saves like 7 seconds. Yeah, on this switch I didn't bother to use Koops because you can just do that same pause to make it to the block in time. So this fight, there's normally a fight that gets triggered here, but if you pause 7 times frame perfectly, you can actually get out of the range of the hitbox and skip it. And then here, instead of using the blocks, you can do a little double jump here, which is just if you get into a battle, when you exit the battle, there's 1 frame where the game considers you on the ground and you can jump again. So you see when I exit this, I can jump again in midair and make it to that platform. I love those frame perfect jumps up Hooktail's stairs. Alright, now it's time for a Hooktail fight. Which, the only RNG manipulation I did to make it a bit faster is just the bounce caps. To finish it with like one less shell toss on the first phase, and the second phase can just be taken out with 1 power bounce. You'll see coming up here. That's me equipping badges and checking the email so you don't get the prompt every time you get an email telling you what it is. It would have been faster to do that menuing at a spot where I could have canceled a paper mode animation, but if I'm being honest, I just forgot about it, and then I just did it before the fight there. So the stylishes there are actually to manipulate RNG, so I get a 10 bounce. And then we can shell toss. And then do another 9 bounce, I think it is. Yeah, which doesn't need any RNG manipulation. If you want 10 or more, you can get capped. So for this one, we can finish him off with 1 bounce. We get a 10 bounce. Which the menu there, manipulator RNG. I didn't need to do any more stylishes, just finish him off. And that is chapter 1. remember to split this time. Another gold. Doing good. If there's any split that I don't gold, that'll be pretty sad. That must mean I was being really lazy with the TAS. I should gold every split. Yeah, not sub 30. It totally could be if you did like the fight skips. And is that anything else? I think that's all you can do really to speed that up. And just like optimal movement. But I think it could be possible. Depending on how much time skipping those 2 fights with the POW block saves. I'm gonna go use this time to get a glass of water, because this is just text mashing and Peach movement, which I guess I'll explain the Peach swaps before I leave. So you can do speed swaps with Peach as well, but you can't jump. So what you do is just you move like up 2 frames, and then you can move to the right or left for 14. And then you lose the speed, and then you move down for 2 more, and then you go right 14, and so on to keep the higher speed. It looks pretty funny, especially when it's done frame perfectly. Yeah, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some water. Alright, so I'm back. The amount of time you save just on mashing frame perfectly through this text is surprising. Like, you get through that so much faster. You can do the same speed swap technique with Bowser as well. Pretty much any character that doesn't jump, you do the speed swaps with this method. Yeah, that's how I'm mashing. It's just like A and B mashing, alternating frame perfectly. There's certain text that I believe is faster just to mash B, or like A maybe, but I didn't bother to like check that. I just mashed A, B frame perfectly. Those are the Bowser swaps there. Alright, so we're gonna go grab Mega Rush P here, which I found out through tasking this that, like, if I ever did this, I wouldn't get Mega Rush P, because it doesn't actually end up saving much time in a task setting because you don't use boost sheets at all. But I just kind of like went with it, and yeah, it's fine. Still interesting. I use it in chapter 3 for some alternate strats since you don't have coops. But if I ever were to do this again, I would not get Mega Rush P for a task setting. And this cutscene is playing because we skipped coops. We just gotta sit through it. I believe I grabbed this mushroom. Yeah. I get that mushroom for a paper mode item jump. That'll do after we get through the sewers here. So normally to get to the 1,000-year door, you would go back to that plane panel. But you can do this thing called a paper mode item jump, which is just like going in paper mode, unspinning, jumping and pausing, and using an item like really quickly, like frame perfectly, and then you can actually get enough height to get on top of the block instead of using the plane panel. Yeah, the cutscene is a little glitchy because it's meant to be played back when you get Coops the normal way, but since we skipped him, it plays as we come into the load zone. So Mario's kind of like behind Koopy. Kind of weird. Alright, almost time for chapter 2. Which is annoying as fuck for RTA because the punies are kind of random. But with save states you can fix all that. The times I have in the splits, like, I looked through the video and got them at the time that I split them. So they're all like the times that I would split them in an RTA run. And they're not super accurate, I just kind of looked at the video and got the times. Like, it's not meant to be that accurate, it's just to give a general idea how much time we're saving over an RTA run. I don't think I explained, frankly, but he's following us still from Prologue. And then he just turned into Punio, because Punio is supposed to start following us, but since you're only allowed one follower, the sprites kind of get intertwined, I guess. Bogley Woods is pretty much the same. There's a couple little things we can do. I guess one thing. Or two, I guess. That make it a bit more interesting. But for the most part, it's just backtracking back and forth so we can get into the Great Tree. I grab that honey syrup for another paper mode item jump. And rip frankly. Background makes the sprite go back to normal. I'm guessing because frankly doesn't have a background animation or sprite, whatever you want to call it. Because he's never actually meant to go back there. Another frame perfect jump right there you can do before the cutscene starts. Saves a bit of frames. Alright, so this is where I do the paper mode item jump. That skips going over and using the plane panel, although we'll still throw the switch when we come back, because it'd be faster just to use it instead of like keep doing frame perfect, or keep doing paper mode item jumps. You choose nah there on purpose, because it skips playing an animation that Mario would normally do, so it's a little faster. Yeah, I know there's a way to, I should have mentioned that, thanks Evan. There's a way to like push behind the tree in this screen here to get to that pipe without using paper mode on the right side. But I could not get it to work. I tried for like at least an hour, I think, try and do it, but I couldn't get it to work, so I just abandoned it. Doesn't save a whole lot of time, but that's something I would try and get to work if I ever redid this task. So here we're gonna throw the switch, but we're gonna do a cutscene walk in the load zone to actually skip the cutscene of the pipe growing. But yeah, you can like, you still need to use paper mode, but you can like do a paper mode jump and get like behind the bushes without going all the way over to the right. Yeah, I couldn't figure it out within a reasonable amount of time, so I just left it. This fight is the same as an RTA would be, except I'm guaranteed to get these super guards. So instead of doing a full earth tremor, we can just stop it at 4 bars, save a bit of time. You can do another frame perfect jump out of this battle. The left there. And the reason I'm going left is because we're going to do what's called tree clip. We can push next to this tree to fall out of bounds. And it respawns us over to the right because that's the last load zone we came in from. So it saves backtracking through the enemies. I think it saves like 5 seconds optimally. We can use this plain panel now because we threw the switch faster than doing more paper mode item jumps to get up here. And you probably notice I'm not getting any of those badges because I just don't need them for money or chapter 3. Now we have Flurry, and since we got a new partner, Koops is gone because he's not in my partner menu since I did Koop skip. So we won't see him again until chapter 4, where it forces the partner back in your menu, because it assumes you got all the partners up to that point. So if you're ever wondering, like, why not use Koops for this thing, it's because I literally can't swap to him. Paper mode jumps, which are always fun. Alright, now we can finally enter the Great Tree. This chapter is pretty interesting. It's a pain in the ass RTA because of the punies. But in a TAS setting, you don't need to worry about any of that stuff, and you can do a bunch of extra tricks that are pretty cool. Another fright mask for these guys, which they run 100% of the time, so another really quick way to deal with them. This cutscene looks messed up because we did another frame perfect jump before it started. Mario's like positioned further to the right than he's meant to be. So they're like almost like talking to Flurry. We want to level up one more time in this chapter before we fight the boss. So instead of frame masking this guy, we're actually going to kill him with a power bounce. We'll level up here, but it'll give us enough star points to level up later. And I did use RNG manipulation to make sure that key went to the right, so I didn't have to chase it over on the left side. Sound glitch on that pipe there. Right, power punch there, that's for the boss of this chapter. Speeds it up a lot. And it's pretty quick to get since it's right in your path. so now we have some puny followers. Coming up here, I'm going to do a glitch called puny glitching, which is just continuously jumping so that you don't lose the puny count, and then you can take them across rooms. Doing it here is very difficult. As you see, right, I do like really weird movement to get over to the pipe. In RTA, you would normally not do that, but this one you would. That's just simple jumping. If you're on a different like height than the punies, it's really easy. Normally, unless the game decides to be mean, and the count can just drop to 0 for no reason. But if you're on a different height than the punies, it's normally really easy to do it. You just keep jumping. It doesn't need to be frame perfect or anything, and you'll keep the punies when you go through the next load zone. And these fights I didn't like bother to retry to make them faster. I just did them one time and dealt with what I got. This fight was kind of bad, and the 101 was like average, I guess. But that one was kind of bad, especially because they ended up like all the way on the left side of the room there. There actually is a way to skip those fights. It's called hive skip, but like it needs more testing, I guess. Like I looked into it a little bit, and any way I tried to do it, you would end up like soft locking, or like I guess it's like half soft lock. I don't know, but it just didn't really work out. And there might be some way to make use of it, but I just didn't bother to spend the time. Since you need to backtrack through those hive rooms twice each, I believe, you would need to do them multiple times. Here, I actually like do puny glitches there so that the count doesn't drop when they get scared from the spider there. And normally in RTA you would drop down and get a Thunder Rage, but I decided to skip it, not really knowing what was in store with me with Chapter 3. I just decided to... I used a Fire Flower too, I don't keep that for Chapter 3. I decided to just go in there with no items and see what would happen, just because why not? And I think it worked out okay. Need to test it more to see like what strategies would actually be optimal, because I don't think the way I handled Chapter 3 is optimal. I left those punies back in the other room, by the way, because we're going to backtrack there now. But we didn't need to bring them up there. And here, and then we'll puny glitch across this room again. And actually, because we don't... Normally in RTA, you would get rid of that X-Knot and get one more star point. And I actually completely forgot about that, so it kind of screwed me over. I ended up in Chapter 8 having to do a couple extra fights, because I messed up the star point count, but it worked out, it's fine. For this badge, I used Flurry there so that to manipulate RNG so that the badge went to the left, because I wanted to get that for coins. That's the only badge I pick up for coins solely. No, I didn't announce the final time. You have to stick around to find out. Besides, that's no fun. This is the other jabby fight. which was kind of average. I guess a little less than average. It's kind of taking a long time here. There we go. Now this is cage skip, which you can actually do faster with a Gumbella buffer. I use the bufferless method just because I don't want to do Gumbella buffers pretty much. But yeah, you just you can press up against the bottom wall there and move slowly to the right to actually stop the load zone from taking you. And then you can move around the seam to get to the bottom pipe. And this is water switch skip done a faster way. We do it in RTA now, but we do a different method. That method can actually work RTA, but it's really hard to do. I was trying to do it the other day. You need to land and move back a little bit towards the punies and then jump again and then move back once you land again and then jump. It's really awkward. So there's probably a better item to get for this, but I didn't really think ahead. So I just got that mushroom there because I need to do a paper mode item jump soon. So yeah. How long did the task take? I think it was a week I worked on it. Not most days I was on it. At least I would say 3 hours a day. There's some days that I didn't work on it at all. But yeah, I would say around a week it took me. Another fright mass fight. So because we did cage skip, we didn't get the super boots, and we need those specifically for a jump panel in chapter 4 that you need to break. So we're gonna go get those now. And because we're getting them now, it changes the sequence position that the game is at. So if we tried to leave the chapter now, the boss wouldn't be there. So we need to actually go back to the room at the bottom of the tree to trigger the fight again. And this is where I do the paper mode item jump. Since I don't have coops, I can't get that badge the regular way. So I do a paper mode item jump up here to actually get it. Probably don't need this badge it's for Shadow Queen, but again I just followed the RTA route in terms of battles and star points, so I wanted to get it. Yeah, this is me backtracking to trigger the chase again so that the sequence position is correct. You can do a paper mode item jump RTA, but you can't really get a high enough jump. It's like in order to get the highest jump possible, you need to like mash A frame perfectly. So you can do one, but you just won't jump as high as you see in TASs and stuff. So I'm killing this guy so I level up. The best time RTA to finish the timer with is 181. So we'll see what I get here. This spot coming up here in a bit here, to get through the door, it was actually kind of tricky because because I didn't get rid of the X-Knot. He's still in the way, so I had to do some kind of precise movement to actually open the door in time without encountering him. RIP 194. $186. I'm guessing it could be done. You could probably get a 187 if I was more meticulous with the movement. Save like a handful of frames more. Alright, so this is where we're going to use the power punch. And since we don't have coops, I decided to use the fire flower here with flurry. Even though it's kind of probably slow and probably manipulating bounce cast would be a better idea. But that's just what I decided to do, or whatever. And again, my idea too, I wanted to go in chapter 3 with no items because I wanted to like just see if I could do that chapter without Fire Flower or Thunder Rage, just to see how it would work out with Mega Rush P. So I decided to kill the boss this way. Just do 2 6 caps, and then the Fire Flower did enough damage where I only need to do a 5 bounce here, and then he'll be dead. That's a very good question. You could re-trigger Chapter 3 with the Super Boost, as far as I know. The only thing that would cause problems with the battles in Chapter 3, because you wouldn't have the extra attack power from the boots, so that might be a reason not to do it. But that's a very good question. If I were to redo this, I would look into that. I didn't even think of that when I was doing it. That would definitely mess up the fights, because I use Mario for like all the fights since you don't have goops as well. What you could do is Gale Force with Flurry, but that uses FP, so you would have to figure that out. Yeah, that's a really good question. Decided to be pro here and miss the first 6 and then get the last 10. This was fun to do. To get that 161, that's like, it's not impossible RTA, you could easily do it, but no one ever goes for it, it's not worth it. But it's cool to see what it's like if you actually do go for it. Sora goes for it, you say? Never seen him. I used to go for it sometimes, just because I'm really bad at actually getting the meats. But then I figured out what I was doing wrong, now I just always use the Big Mario. Or Big Bowser, I mean. Yeah, there's not really that much incentive to go for it, because it only saves a second. And getting 160 if you get 2 meats is absolutely free. So I could go and do another paper mode item jump, to get up this block, but I decided to do all these paper mode jumps just because they look too cool. And it wouldn't save as much time because you're not right next to the block when you come out of that load zone, but I'm pretty sure it would still be faster. But yeah, those paper mode jumps are just way too cool. Yeah, exactly. Swag over speed. Yeah, gotta leave room for the next TAS. It needs time save. So I can gold the TAS splits. And time for chapter 3. Now the run gets more interesting. Normally this chapter is really annoying RTA because of all the RNG you have to deal with. But in a TAS setting you can manipulate all that so you get good conditions on every fight. Yeah, we're currently 7 minutes and 19 seconds ahead of their world record. And so I'm selling badges. I'm just selling damage dodge P for 75 coins. And then the sound effects badge that we got back in chapter 1 for 50. And that's enough coins for everything I need. And I could have manipulated RNG so that Power Rush was on sale. That would have saved a little bit of time and money. But I didn't bother to do that. And I'm actually not going to get Mega Rush here, because I want to save my coins for some items. So I actually get Mega Rush later when I go to retrigger chapter 2. This Mega Rush costs 60 coins, so if I bought it now, I'd already be out of money. My mustache is green. In retrospect, I don't think I really needed to store those items, because I don't need the inventory space. But I just kind of did it out of muscle memory, I guess. Do a little flurry super slide there. I don't think this one, I think it's a little faster, maybe like a second or so. Like it skips like one door transition. But I'll do it again later, which I know is definitely faster. All this sequence stuff we're doing here is just to get the blimp ticket, because we need it to actually enter chapter 3. It's one of the major skips that's left to be found in this game. We're gonna buy fright masks for Chapter 3 to deal with most of the fights. And in RTA you would buy like 6 or 7 to have some extras in case it doesn't work. But since it's a TAS, we can manipulate RNG, so I only buy 5. So after this tech smashing, I'll do the same super slide, which I guess I didn't explain that, but if you just go to like any door and use flurry and then open the door 3 frames later, you can use flurry as you're opening the door, and it lets you like slide around on the floor. So that's how I got underneath it to the piazza parlor. So I'll do that again when I leave here, and it skips like the email that you normally get as you go to the grate to the sewers, and also like a couple boxes of dialogue that you would normally get after leaving the shop. And I moved, like, you might notice I moved like up there. It might seem like pointless to like do that extra movement, but there's normally an NPC there that you can't see, so I need to move up a little bit to get around him. And then we can do another HRG here, just a frame perfect jump in the water, and the game doesn't know where to send us, so it puts us in the middle of the room. Hit the switch and jump frame perfectly again to land back up there. We're going to read this note, which sets a sequence position to this point in the game, which is in Chapter 6. So when we go to Chapter 3, the game will be set to doing the fights like post Chapter 3, so it'll skip certain cutscenes. I think it saves overall like 4.5 minutes, around there. You cannot replicate what I'm doing in this task. All of these jumps are frame perfect. There's just no way. You could definitely go for certain tricks that you do in a TAS RTA, but they're so difficult that you're probably not going to get them, and if you do, it'll take you more time than they're worth saving. So we actually have to go back here because since we triggered Chapter 6, the game right now is set so that we just finished Chapter 3, and so if we try to go where the minor league is, the guard won't let us in there because he's expecting us to leave this area, so we need to leave and come back. That's why my split is called Deja Vu. Alright, so I'm getting items now because I want to use a power punch in the fights. So I'll buy 2. One is for Shadow Queen at the end of the game, and one is for the fights. And I buy 2 point swaps, and one is for Shadow Queen, and one is for the fights. Alright, so I put multi-bounce before this. Take care of this fight. Normally you could use Coop's Power Shell, which would be a bit faster, but since we did Coop skip, we don't have him at all. First fight we'll take out with Fright Mask. And those guys, I think it's a 90% chance that they run. We can manipulate RNG so that they all run away. If you notice me like hammering or jumping or whatever before I read the console, it's to manipulate the condition. I think that's the last time I do it. I noticed like I thought I had to like jump and hammer to manipulate it, but it turns out you can actually manipulate it like in the text of the actual console. So I started just doing that. Like depending on how long you wait before you like advance the text, it'll change. Unfortunately, these cutscenes aren't skipped. Not really sure why. My guess is because they're tied to the rank. Like when you first get to that rank, because the rank is stored separately than your sequence position. The way I do RNG manipulation for the TAS, I'm not sure, like, Malio probably does different methods to do it better and more like easier. But the way I do it is just like reloading a save state and just doing something else and then trying it again and see what I get. So like you literally can't do that RTA because it involves loading a previous state, and that's impossible in a real run through of the game. In order to RNG manipulate an RTA, you would need to like, it would need to be a really simple thing, and you would need to like do the exact same movements every single time, which is just not reliable. Because like so many things, like that little menuing there was RNG manipulation. So many things advance RNG that you can't keep track of it all. Like jumping, hammering, using partners, scrolling through text, menus, all that changes the RNG string. But anyway, back to the fights. So, in this fight I actually kill Lakitu because I want to get a bit of extra star points in these fights. Because I want one extra level up by the end of it. By the end of the game, that is, before the final fights. And I just fright mask the other two enemies. Yeah, like I said before, all these fights are really annoying in RTA because the condition that you get before them, you can get things like take damage 5 times, appeal 3 times, it's another bad one, use a special move, stuff like that, which all waste a lot of time. But we can avoid all that. So I use a point swap here to get Mario in danger, and then I use the fright mask. And funny enough, I didn't need to manipulate that fright mask at all. I got lucky. The first time I tried it, they all just ran away. I was like, cool. I was expecting to have to like do a bunch of stuff because the piranha is only a 30% chance to run. But I got lucky. So for this fight, I have like one less damage I need to actually kill them. So I use the power punch here that I bought earlier to increase Mario's power to actually kill them in one turn. I did not pick up the Thunder Rage in Chapter 2. I decided to like not get any extra items that I wouldn't really need to save time from going down, picking it up, and going up the pipe. So I don't even have Thunder Rage at all. And same with the Fire Flower. That's why I'm gonna do this thing here, multi-bounce, and then I'll use the Ice Storm that I got from the shop points to take them out. if I just use the Ice Storm, it wouldn't do enough damage. So I need to also multi-bounce. I don't know the specifics of the World Records Chapter 3. So I don't really know where I'm saving time. Thunder Rage could be used to kill the Bomb-Ombs, but again, I decided not to pick it up. It was mainly just to see if I could get through this chapter in a decent way without using, like, having to go and get any extra items or whatever. Yeah, so again, I jumped on that bandit to get extra star points to level up later in the game. And we fright masked the rest of them. So the way the star points worked out, I originally thought that I was 1 star point away from the correct number, so I would just need to kill 1 gold bomb at the end of the game. But I'm actually 2 away because I forgot about the X-Naught that I didn't fright mask in Chapter 2. So that kind of threw me off, but it's fine. I just fixed it in Chapter 8. So in terms of the Yoshi color that we're gonna get, it's normally determined based on like when you get the egg, how long between when you get the egg and when Yoshi actually comes in your party. But since we triggered Chapter 6, we got the Yoshi egg like automatically, so it's just based off the in-game timer. So basically, like, the faster you go, the different color Yoshi you'll get. So normally, the color Yoshi I'm about to get is a bad color to get, but I actually got it on like an earlier cycle, but it's all the same, a really shitty color to get, and I'm really disappointed with it. It's fucking green. Such a boring color. And I spent some time to actually name it here. Named him Turtley because of a running joke in TTYD. It's in reference of Turtley Leafs. I know, I'm really disappointed in the Yoshi color. If I ever like redid this task, like my #1 goal is to get a better Yoshi color, which you could definitely get a different color, I would say, because there's certain things I didn't do that would save a bit more time. What was that jump for? If it was before reading the screen, it was probably for the condition to manipulate it. Either that or I just decided to jump for no reason, really. I'll spoil that right now. I'm not going to get Flavio. Wasting a bit of time to name a Yoshi is different than taking like a 7-minute time loss to get Flavio. No, we're not going to do all of Chapter 3. We just need to go as far to get the Super Hammer. Because we need the Super Hammer so that when we do Bookcase Jump, we can break the vent to continue the game. So we have to progress that far. And then what we'll have to do is D-rank so that we're back in the minor league, because if I don't do that, then when I come back here after re-triggering Chapter 2, then when the Grubba cutscene plays, you'll just get like stuck in the minor league, or the major league, when the cutscene plays. So this is the fight where you get Super Hammer. So I'm wanting to fail the condition, and I manipulated it. So I think it was I think I manipulated it. So the condition was don't use an item. So I can just use this Ice Storm to take them out, and that'll fail the condition and kill them. So now we're gonna go out and get the Super Hammer. Alright, so now we have everything to complete Chapter 3 when we come back here. But again, we need to D-rank so that when we start the Grubba cutscene, we don't get soft-locked. Or I guess not technically soft-locked, but it would ruin the run. The ending battles here kind of got messed up. The strat that I had in mind, like, didn't really work out, so I ended up having to sleep in the bed twice, I think. So this section could definitely be improved a lot if I ever do this again. I think having an FP item would help too, because like the main reason I'm sleeping in the bed is for FP reasons. So I took a damage on Yoshi, by the way, because I'm actually going to get Yoshi and Mario in peril for the Grubba fight. And this was another mistake. I didn't like have to jump, but what I did was like I manipulated RNG so that the condition was don't jump, because I thought I was going to have to jump anyway. But the way it worked out is I didn't need to, and I just didn't bother going back to fix it, so it's whatever. At this point, I just wanted to get the fuck out of this chapter. Didn't want to have to redo it all. Yeah, so I'm going to use these guys to get Mario and Yoshi in peril. That's why I didn't need to jump on him, because I wanted to have 2 HP to do another HRG down in the sewers. So I could have just not jumped on him and then not blocked one of those hits, but I forgot about that, so I ended up just blocking a hit. Still worked out fine. Alright, so now that we're back in minor league, we can go back and trigger chapter 2. Because we want to get access to Grubba's office, and the only way to do that is to start the chapter from the beginning. I hop off Yoshi here and get back on, and that's just what I ended up doing to manipulate RNG so that I get Mega Rush. Yeah, I thought about that later. You can like jump. I forget exactly how you do it, but you can like buffer the hammer spin in the air, so you don't actually need to hammer to do a spin hammer. But yeah, I didn't even like think about that. I completely forgot. That would have saved a little bit of time. We're going back here to retrigger chapter 2 so that we can restart chapter 3. Which is done by that jump panel. Now you see I have the peonies back again because the game sequence position is set to chapter 2 now. It took like extra long to get in that pipe. I hadn't noticed that before. Yeah, that one was much faster. Alright, so I'm actually going to go left here instead of right. Do another HRG. I believe it's slightly faster to go up this side of the sewers instead of the right side. Normally in RTA you wouldn't, like, you could go for it if you had the health, but you need to be in peril. So you're usually like at 2 HP or 1, and if you're at 1 you just can't do it, so that's why I want it to be at 2 HP instead of 1. I mentioned this before, I'll say it again. The splits are the time that I split at. I went through the video and filled them in myself. So they're not like wrong because Sorex splits at different times. I filled them in the times that I split them at. Yeah, you have to advance the text there correctly to re-trigger the chapter, but it's super easy. I didn't even think about it when I was watching it. Yeah, if you don't do it right, then this cutscene won't play. This task was done on Dolphin emulator. I'll apologize in advance for bookcase jump right now. You'll probably see why. People are probably expecting what's called the God jump, I guess. I've heard some people call it that. But I tried for like, I think it was at least like a half hour, and I was just having a lot of trouble with it. So I eventually just said fuck it, and I did a spin jump, so I'm sorry. But I didn't do the God jump. Yeah, I've resorted to the pleb jump. But it was first try, so yeah, give me that. Alright, so for this fight, since I have Yoshi in peril, I actually equipped Mega Rush P as well. Instead of using the Ice Storm, I can just take him out one turn. So I manipulated a 7 bounce there, and then we could do a ground pound with Yoshi, and with Mega Rush P that takes him out in one turn.
Oh yeah.
Audio was like glitching out a little bit for me. Hoping it's just my headset, not the actual video. Well, something funny about this Peach sequence. When we go up a floor to get the Xnauts uniform, there's this like weird thing you can do where you can like open the locker and grab the uniform like at the same time, kind of, and then you get the uniform and get pushed to the side by the locker, and then you can just go straight to the right to change into it. But I could not replicate it for the life of me. I tried for like way too long for such a dumb thing. But I did it like in RTA just by mistake one time, and I've never seen it again. I don't understand how it works. I could not get it to work again. This uniform right here. It saves like no time, like maybe like 0.1 seconds. But I just really wanted to get it because I thought it was cool, but I couldn't get it unfortunately. Some Xnaut swaps. That's correct. I don't get the optional partner, Ms. Mouse. Normally in an RTA run, you would get her because to do like final trick in the game, pretty much called Palace Skip. But you don't actually need her. It's just incredibly annoying. You'll see when we get there to do it without her. I mean, there's two methods of doing it. One of them is incredibly annoying, and then you need to do a frame perfect input to actually get it. And the other one is like not as annoying, I guess, but it's harder because you need to do like 2 frame perfect inputs or more. And you also need her for teleporter room early, which we'll also see. I actually hope that the English route doesn't come down to skipping Mouse. Like, if we found a way to do teleporter room early without her, like RTA, whatever, but like doing Palace Skip without her, it would be a pain in the butt. I think I fucked around a little bit, yeah. I could have interacted with that bush a little bit, but I was just kind of messing around. It was acting really glitchy, and it made me laugh. Alright, back to the main game.
Oh yeah.
The characters are all messed up here because of the chapter 6 trigger that we did before chapter 3. Thankfully I didn't forget to get rejected in the TAS here. This is the last TTYD cutscene we'll have to sit through for a while. The only other one we need to watch is the one to actually open the door.
Oh yeah.
Mario's sliding on the ground there. I don't know why that happens, but if you talk to Darkly at a certain spot, Mario will like move to the right slowly. Weird. Alright, now we can finally enter chapter 4. Oh, split that. That was late, but whatever. There's actually a time saver in this chapter that does a trick that we don't do in RTA, just because it's so difficult and the amount of time it saves isn't worth it. But I actually have to do it because I don't have coops. There's like, to get the shop key for this chapter, normally you would use coops to get it underneath the tree, but we still don't have coops because I skipped him back in chapter 1. So we're gonna do shop key skip, which is pretty cool. Alright, so this is it here. Do a flurry super slide to get on the seam, and we can walk around this and jump right into the room where the black chest is. It looks really cool and like easy done like that, but it's incredibly difficult. Getting on the seam isn't that hard. Like, you can get the rhythm down to just land on the seam every time, but then actually walking around it is really finicky. It's really easy to fall off. And if you mess it up one time, then you're not saving time anymore. And I get this jam and jelly. It was kind of funny. I originally got it because I thought I was going to have to refill my FP after killing Smorg. But it turns out I didn't need to do that because I used like a totally different strat for Smorg, which we'll see. So, but I ended up using it for palace skip, so it all worked out. So you'll see the shop key isn't even here now because the sequence is set past that. So we're gonna take a quick trip down to the well here to get Mary on peril, so we can kill Dupless really quickly and easily. I didn't actually test that, but I believe getting on Yoshi there is faster versus staying in tube mode. I get that coin because I fucking earned that. I do purposely talk to that boo from the left side because when he scares you, he pushes you closer to the door. This is a super minor thing. So normally in an RTA run, you would get the Bushi back where we got the tube curse. But since I can reliably super guard in a TAS, I don't need that. And super guarding actually lets you finish him off with one less bounce as well. If you didn't super guard, you would need to do 2 hits there to kill him, but since you super guard, you can just finish him off with that 9 damage. At the end of this chapter is where we'll finally get Coops back. As once you finish this, the game assumes you've gotten all the partners that's supposed to be required to come here, so you just end up getting them all. You can do the same thing with the other partners, like the Japanese route used to do that with Yoshi. It would skip Yoshi and then get him back here. The rest of this chapter is just dodging daisies, pretty much. And tube mode movement, that's always fun. It's only faster on like really long distances though. Through these screens and coming back after getting Vivian. But it's not faster through like one screen because the amount of time it takes to actually get in tube mode is just not worth it and get out of it. Not much to say during this, it's pretty much just movement. A lot of people don't like this chapter because there's a lot of backtracking. But I don't mind it when I'm running the game because I find the movement fun. All the tube mode and dodging the daisies. That's just one thing I could talk about coming up here. I'll wait until we actually get there and then you'll understand better what I'm actually talking about. I love those jumps. I never get enough of them. Like that's a spot where like it probably would have been faster just to like unspin and do speed swaps, but those jumps are just too cool not to do. Yeah, so down in this well, there's this barrier that we get past by using Vivian. But you could actually get past it without her by using Paper Mode item jump. But as far as I know, you can't like finish the chapter if you do that. Like, what would happen? Like, if I just killed Dupless and then went straight to go in here to get the letter P to spell his name, then when you play the cutscene after spelling his name, you just softlock because you don't have Vivian. So as far as I know, you can't make any time save out of that. So now that we have the letter P, we can go back and spell his name. That movement was bad. I remember that. I got like a really bad daisy spawn position, and I tried to like get it so I could just jump past him, but it didn't really work out. Alright, so we're about to go kill Dupless for the second time. This time you just need a 7 bounce and he's dead. Really easy fight. After this, the run, well I guess after the Excess Express, the run picks up a lot. And also after this split, I'll save loads of time over Sorik's run because this is when Sorik goes to get his mouse, and we don't need him in or her in a TAS setting, so we'll save loads of time after this split. You see Koops is back. Rejoin the party.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't actually need to use Koops. I just thought it was worth noting that you do get him back. Or quiz, and then we get to do the next Bowser mini game, I guess. And we'll get the infamous 154. Getting 154 in this minigame is a pain, RTA. Because if you make like any little mistake, then you can't get it anymore. Not like it matters that much. It's like less than a second of time saved, but still interesting that you can get that fast of a time. Gotta love that frame perfect swimming. Too funny. So throughout this whole segment, there's not really much to say as well. It's just movement and talking to NPCs to advance the game. Yeah. After this, though, we'll get to see some pretty cool stuff. The only trick that we do is another HRG to actually get to the chapter. I would say if you want a break to go get some food or something, this is a good time to go, because this is not that exciting. It's just running back and forth in the train. I actually might go get some. Save a little bit of time over RTA still, just in the train alone, because I don't need to visit the shop at all. The strat I'll use for Smorg only needs one Thunder Rage, which I'll get in Riverside. And we don't need any boost sheets because we can super guard. This goes pretty quickly though, especially when you're not making mistakes of like jumping and hammering after talking to NPCs, which happens all the time, especially to me at least. I do it all the time in this chapter. Usually using Yoshi throughout this is faster, but there's certain times if you need to go to like the first or second door when you enter, like here I need to go to room 6, so it's faster just to do a little speed swap there and get over. But if you need to go to like the first room or the second one when you enter, it's faster not to use Yoshi. But like for here, again we use speed swaps because it's only 2 doors away. But on the way back, I need to go from like all the way left of the cart to the all the way to the right, so I do use Yoshi. This is one of the 2 times that you need to use Vivian on the train. So this is why you need to go to Chapter 4 at all, because you need Vivian to advance this. We get a mushroom here as a reward, which I'll use for another paper mode item jump later on. You get Vivian in Chapter 4. Right, yeah, what Evan said there. You can't leave the chapter without finishing it at that point when you get Vivian. We're almost done here. Just gotta find Zip Toad, aka Dupless. Weird, that door, like, you can get that note so quickly that you actually have to wait for the paper to finish, like, unfolding before you can open the door again. So, like, had to just wait there until I could interact with the door again. This is the second use of Vivian here. So you need her to continue in this chapter. And loads of time saved there. And again, that's because I didn't go and get Miss Mouse, and that's where Soric did in his world record run. I know I got Riverside, which I really like this area. Just overall, like speed game wise and casually, it's a really cool area. Little jump there you can do to skip one step. You can actually make like you can jump from like the lower step there right up to the top. Saves like one jump. It's a similar like control stick input that you do for a trick called double jump or Yoshi skip. You kind of like, you hold up and jump and then quickly roll to left. I'm thinking you could probably make that earlier cycle, but I didn't bother to like retry. Seemed like it was pretty close. I don't think it was really worth trying over and over again to get. But it looks like it might be possible. Be pretty close though, because it was like already like on its way on the second half to closing by the time we got there. So I actually pause here to do badges to stop the tube momentum so that I can fall straight down, because you need to go down the left side of like that split when you fall down. So I decided to swap badges there so I didn't have to like jump over and then move left or whatever. And I believe you can do a double jump to get over, to get up on the platform here instead of killing these Goombas. But again, that messes with star points, and I decided, like, at the start of making this task that I wasn't going to do anything that would mess with the route itself, like, in terms of battles and leveling. If I ever remake this task, that would be something I would add into it. We can do that, jump on that during the cutscene to get a free hit. Alright, this is where we finally get Ultra Boots. I swap partners there for two reasons. One, so that you cut the unspin animation from paper mode, and also if you don't swap partners, then your partner gets like stuck on the top floor, and then you can't use Yoshi for a while. You have to wait for him to like be able to use again. So it's a good idea to swap there so you can use him right away. This is where I get the Thunder Rage for the Smorg fight. I guess I'll start explaining the Smorg fight a little bit. So what's done in RTA is you have 2 Thunder Rages so that you can get rid of the arms, and then you can do enough damage to have the claw come out, and that can attack you. And it does 10 damage, so you can just guard it, and then you get imperiled that way, and then you can do insane amount of damage with Mega Rush and Power Rush. But there's another strat you can use, which could be done in RTA, but it would rely heavily on RNG. You can let the tentacles hit you, which they do 5 damage each. So if you get hit twice with them and guard one of them, that's 9 damage. But that's provided that at least 2 hit Mario, and if a third one ends up hitting him, then you need to super guard. So it's not really reliable in RTA, but we'll get to see it here. Yeah, that block below the Thunder Rage is always like that. I have no idea why the block is like that. I thought that was weird too. There's also a weird block in Chapter 5, which we don't even go to here. But yeah, there's a block in Chapter 5 that's like, I think it's in the same state, but in the Japanese version it's actually different. And it can like glitch out, the textures will like glitch out and stuff too. It's kind of funny. It's the one where a shine sprite is, where you jump on top and get it. Alright, some more time. The run will pick up now. Now that we have text storage, we can do pretty awesome tricks to speed this up. I'm not 100% sure if it's faster to get on Yoshi there. I think it is because of like how slow you move when you get inside the Smorgs. I mean, I don't do that RTA just because I never think about it really. Yeah, anyway, let's go kill Smorg. So the first thing I do is jump on one of the tentacles to kill it, because I didn't actually time it, but I'm fairly certain that killing it is faster than letting it attack, because they attack pretty slowly. Yeah, I killed that tentacle, and then I manipulated RNG here with all that menuing. Pretty funny, I like that. So that they both hit Mario. And I can guard one, and then not guard the other one to get Mario in peril. And we can use that Thunder Rage we picked up from Riverside, and then just do one power bounce to kill him. And that's Smorg. And normally in RTA here, because you don't level on Smorg, you would heal yourself in the bed, because going into Chapter 7 in peril is not a really good idea. But I can skip doing that here. And that's why I thought I needed to refill my FP with the Jam and Jelly. But because of that strat, we only use one power bounce, so that only uses 3 FP. So I still have plenty left to kill Magnus too. So I do another paper item jump here, because I actually timed it and it's slightly faster than using spring. There's like a trick you can do over on the left side with the pole. Okay, let's just watch this, appreciate it. I'll explain it a bit after. It's pretty fucking crazy. And we're in there. So I'll try and explain that relatively fast because we want to see elevator skip. So you get 4 text boxes, and you fall out of bounds there to get hitbox glitch, which is if you go in paper mode and fall out of bounds and then release R, when you respawn, you have the hitbox of paper mode, but you're walking around as if you're not in paper mode. And the hitbox of paper mode is smaller, so that's needed to get into the room. And then you go over, you swap to Yoshi, and then you go do Yoshi teleport beneath the floor, which is fine. You could do that RTA. The tricky part is you keep closing the rest of the text boxes so that you can extend the hover and actually gain a bit of height and land on the seam of the teleporter room. You could actually just continue left and get inside the room, no problem. But the problem with that is that you're left in a state we called ground driving butt scooch. Pretty funny name. Which Mario is just like stuck on the ground as if he's on Yoshi, and you can't move. You're just soft locked. What you need to do is land on the seam, and then you can move up on these like bottles and then fall to the left, and then since you fall, you go in the falling animation, and then that gets you out of the ground driving butt scooch, and then you can go in the teleporter room. And I finished just in time to see elevator skip. That's just a little Yoshi teleport there to skip using the elevator. And normally you would pause to do that, but we can do a little trick. Since I can just fall off, I can buffer the A press as I'm falling instead of pausing. And I just fooled around in this room. It's funny, because I needed to wait for the platform cycle anyway. Solving partners took a little time, but I didn't care. Doing that like skips half of the cycle of the platform. There's a lot of cool tricks really quickly, and there's more coming up here. The first thing we're going to do is called conveyor belt skip, which it's done in RTA. It's really easy. You just go in paper mode and walk into this gap as you get hit by that. And I took damage here and got burned to get back in peril because the mushroom I used for the paper mode item jump healed me, so I needed to get back in peril there. And then you can actually squeeze past that. That skips using Bobbery and Vivian. And there's a faster method to do what I'm doing here with just Yoshi. You can clip into like above the pipe and get there. But I opted to do that method because I thought it was cooler. That's like reverse background skip, and background skip is that spring jump I did to land on these moving platforms. And this is still a mystery here. Apparently you don't need to extend that hover to make it, but I tried for the longest time and I could not get it without extending it. So I think it might be a Japanese-English version difference. But yeah, I ended up just using a text box to make that hover. That skips using the plane panel to get over there. So in RTA you wouldn't normally come into this fight in peril, because then you're forced to super guard his attack, or use Vivian to use Veil. But using Vivian for Veil would be slow, so I'm not going to do that. So we're just going to swap partners and super guard. And you might think I want to end with Yoshi out here to use him later, but I don't. I want Goombella. That's on purpose, and you'll see why. Yeah, I really like that segment in this TAS. That whole Chapter 7 is really awesome, in my opinion. Oh, and that dialogue, by the way, I chose the bottom option on purpose because it's actually slightly faster. If you choose the top option, there's like extra animations that play. And the middle option, I think, is like faster still, but the bottom one is the fastest, as far as I know. And then you'll see why I wanted Goombella out here. I did time this, and it's actually faster to do another Yoshi teleport to get down here. You do like another elevator skip pretty much instead of using the elevator to go down. You just do another teleport to get down here.
Oh yeah.
Now we can head to chapter 8. Chapter 8 is pretty cool overall. It was a really cool movement, like even not considering Palace Skip.
Oh yeah.
So there is one more fight we need to deal with before the final boss rush, which is the Dark Bones fight. So we're going to use these cannons to get in peril. After we get the shooting star, that's for Grotus. That was me. I swapped badges there. I put PFD down on so I take more damage. And I killed the cannon there because I need extra star points. I need 2 more, and you can use paper mode to get past them like that. The way you would do it in RTA is by doing a spring jump onto the light post or whatever, the lamp. But you can just use paper mode. You just need to hold precise angles. And this is a HRG that makes no sense, but it works. I'm just kidding, it makes sense. You can actually just jump over the trigger where it sets your spawn point. So if you do that, the game just puts you in the center of the room, just like all the other ones. Normally you just hover it with Yoshi because it's easier, but you can actually just jump over it. And we don't need Bushi's here again because we can super guard, and he actually attacked Yoshi anyway. Yeah, and that's that fight. Super easy fight for 93 star points. And you notice I didn't level. That's because I messed up the leveling earlier, because I forgot about the X-Naught fight in Chapter 2 that I skipped. So I need to kill another gold cannon, so my leveling is fixed. I do that here. Again, like if I redid this task, I would skip getting the last level up, because I'm pretty sure you wouldn't need it. Actually, I moved back there to get first struck again. I actually can't remember why I guarded there. Oh, right, I remember. It's for Palace Skip. Right, I remember. Usually you could just take 2 hits and take 14 damage to get in peril, but I need to jump on the Ember when I do Palace Skip, so I need to be at 2 HP, that's why. Alright, everybody get hyped for Palace Skip without mouse. So I actually get 2 text boxes there, but I actually only need 1. Just forget I did that. The reasoning for that is because I thought I was able to like seam walk Yoshi a little less by extending the hover, but I didn't end up getting that to work properly, so I ended up with 2 boxes, and it's fine. Just get rid of 1. So what I'm doing here is I'm seam walking Yoshi. He's on like the top seam of the room here, and I need to move right to get him to move over, but I can't move too much, otherwise he'll pop back in bounds. So I need to continuously go back and push him back in. And what makes this even more difficult is the embers. There's 2 embers here, which I'll have to also dodge. Like, to do this RTA, I would assume we would kill at least, well, you need the other ember, so 1 ember. Because dodging these embers took a lot of tedious movement. Like, even in a TAS setting, I'm wasting time here waiting for the ember. If I get an encounter, not only does it waste time, but it would force me to unspin. It would ruin everything. Yoshi would respawn behind me. And now we have 2. This one movement, I'll try and point it out here. When they're both coming at me. Yeah, right here. That movement right there took so long just to not get an encounter. Alright, and here's the teleport. The teleport just barely below the floor for strike the ember. And what that does is lets us disengage from Yoshi, so we can fall up instead of just straight down, and get to load zone for to skip the palace. I'm pretty happy about that. I was getting kind of like worried when I was doing that. So I was like, how the hell am I going to avoid these embers? Like, they're everywhere. But I eventually got it down. So all that's left are the final fights. This This is where I use the shooting star to get rid of his minions. I will be uploading this to YouTube, just so everyone knows. Probably tonight. I'll upload a version with this commentary and one without. So if you want to rewatch it, it'll be there. And I'll also highlight it on my Twitch itself. So normally you would use a boost sheet here, but since I can super guard, I can use that just to swap to Goombella for Mega Rush strats, Mega Rush P strats, I mean. Manipulated bounces there, and I use a point swap to get the partner in peril. Which this is like part of the reason why I realized Mega Rush P isn't really needed for a TAS setting. Because of like the fact that you don't need boost sheets. And I'm confused because I'm losing time. I think I messed up this split. Or it's possible I'm losing a bit of time because Palace Skip does take longer without mouse, but overall it's faster. But this won't be a gold. It's kind of confusing. Yeah, doing stylish advances RNG. No, leveling doesn't matter anymore. I don't want to level. You want to enter the Grotus fight with like, I think it's 10 or less XP. Because you don't want to level on Bowser. Because then you're at full health for this first phase Shadow Queen, which would be much slower. Yes. Just, yeah, you wouldn't want to be at 99 star points, because then you would level on Shadow Queen, which would waste time. Oh, I also just remembered I did split the start Palace Skip split. I split that like really late, so I'm thinking that's why, part of the reason at least, why it got messed up. Is I split that when I opened the door, but I didn't split it until I started like jumping for tech storage. Oh, whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's just a rough guide. Yeah, so for this phase, in RTA, you would like do bounces and use a boost sheet. But since, or not sorry, not boost sheet. You would just like do bounces with Mario, and then do another attack with Goombella to finish her off on that first phase, and then she'll turn into her real form. But in a TAS setting, you can just manipulate the bounces, so you don't actually need Goombella's extra attack. So, like, and plus you don't need the boost sheets at all, so it's like, it doesn't really skip anything having Mega Rush P. So it's not really worth it. If I redid this, which I think I will eventually do this TAS again. But yeah, I wouldn't get Mega Rush P for the TAS. I would just find other strats for Chapter 3. But it was really good. I like doing it with it just to see how it played out. There's Gloomtail that we never fought. Another reason for that time loss too is that I had to get in like extra encounters because I messed up the leveling. That could be easily fixed if I just like realized it. I would have gotten more XP in Chapter 3 and fixed it. Yeah, so you'll see when I bounce with Mario, I do down to 7. Leave 7. Yeah. Then I attack with Goombella. This is just to like do the Mega Rush P strats, because if like I might as well at this point. But if I just manipulated one extra bounce with Mario, then that would have been enough damage. So I wouldn't even need Goombella at all. Yeah, now we just gotta wait. We don't have Bobbery, so we can't speed this up any. We just gotta wait for her turns to be over. We can just super guard everything. She did the stealing health move a lot, which is slower. Kind of annoying, but again, I did bother to manipulate RNG for stuff like that. No, you can't hurt Shadow Queen at all during this phase. It's part of like the story. You need to wait until this cutscene happens. No, before then still, when you could actually hurt her at the beginning. Like, you just need to do 61 damage, and then it triggers the next phase. If you do more, it doesn't kill her. Like, if you did 150, which is her full health, it wouldn't kill her. It just triggers the next phase. And you only need to do 61. Good questions, though. I like this. This is part of the reason why I decided to stream it as I'm doing commentary for the YouTube video, because I figure people would ask questions that would provide me with like more to talk about. So I thank all the chat for that. chapter we never went to. Pretty satisfying how we can skip like one whole entire chapter in English since Palace Skip was found. Alright, so this last phase is pretty much the same as RTA, besides skipping boo sheets and just super guarding instead. One thing I can do, which I'm going to start doing RTA as well, is just instead of using power lift, we can just use charge again to get another 2 attack. TAS took me around a week to do. All Mario's gonna do for 3 turns is just charge. Another thing that I did to speed this up is I still have PFD down equipped, which gives me 1 extra attack. And for RTA, that would require you to guard the charged attack, which is scary. But obviously in a TAS, I can easily guard it. That's the charge instead of power lift, and then we use power punch to get another 2 attack. And then we have the charged attack, which is doing 15 damage because I have PFD down equipped. So I need to guard it. Do 14. And manipulate an 8 bounce. And then we can just do 1 more jump to finish her off. Not stylish, it was just for fun. I'm pretty sure you can kill her before the dialogue there, but in order to do that I would have to manipulate an 11 bounce, which I didn't feel like trying to do. It took me long enough to get that 8 bounce in there. Because normally you can get capped at 5 bounce pretty frequently, and then after that it's a 3rd chance that you get capped every time. So it's a little tricky to get really high bounce caps. But I managed to get an 8 bounce, and then doing that jump kills her with the exact amount of damage. So I just decided to do it that way. The world record is in the splits for 23:40, which we'll beat by over a half hour.
Oh, yeah!
They're minutes. If it was seconds and milliseconds, it would be the number and a decimal, and then the milliseconds instead of a colon. Math. Little math lesson for everyone. Colon denotes a new unit. That's why 3:40:58, because they're all different units. Hours, minutes, seconds. But then when you go to milliseconds, it's the same unit, just a different metric conversion, so it's a decimal. The rest of this is just text mashing, and then we need to sit through the credits just for RTA timing. Which, I know the TAS timing is different, and I don't know when they start and finish their timing. But, like, I didn't do this, like, for the TAS community, really. Not to take away anything from that community, but this is just, like, to see what, like, a idealistic RTA run could be. Like, I want to time this RTA.
Oh, yes. Oh.
And a funny thing to note too, you save a little more time on this split from not getting Mao's as well, because if you get Mao's, she has a couple text boxes at the end there, and she also has her own cutscene with Gimbella here. You save a bit of time from that as well. It's not just from the trip to get her itself. Aubrey's still here though, because game never expected us to skip him.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Evan. Now that I'm done this task finally, showcased it, uploaded to YouTube, I'm going to be streaming more again. I haven't been streaming lately because I've been working on this. I should be doing more RTA runs of this. What meme stuff are you gonna do, Evan? 100 bookcase jump. Oh god. $3:52.06. Final time. Alright, thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. And I can see you on Twitch if you come to my stream.